Welcome everyone to the very first episode of DinoMight. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. This is a podcast focused on the Toronto Raptors here on the Couch Potato Diary Sports Network. So if you've been following me along for a while, you've noticed a couple of these popping up this week. On Monday, Blue Jays one. Yesterday, one focusing on the Calgary Flames. Today, the focus is the Toronto Raptors. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday here on the Couch Potato Diary Sports Network. For now, the podcast, for those of you who are listening, is going to live right here in the regular Couch Potato Diary, I guess, feed. And for those watching on YouTube, it'll be in the regular Couch Potato Diary feed, but we'll also spin off into its own playlist that'll be available here on the YouTube channel. So if you only want the Raptors stuff, it will be here. So that is something that you can look forward to. So again, for those of you who for those of you who have listened to all of these this week, you're going to be a little bit tired of the spiel. But for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time for some Raptor related content, my name is Peter Klein. I was on Sports Talk Radio in Calgary for 10 years and then wasn't by their choice. And now I'm back in a freelance role and doing my own thing as well. And so the Raptors are something I've always been passionate about. You can see the jersey behind me. That is a Mo Pete jersey, and that is absolutely a jersey that I bought when he was playing with the team. I played basketball all through school and have always really appreciated the sport. Unfortunately, there isn't a ton of market for it out here in Calgary. At least that's what I have been told by radio people. So any chance, basically 2019, I got to talk about the team. I relished it, but now really looking forward to having this platform to talk about the team on a weekly basis. So, coming up on the show today, we're going to be looking back at the win over the Indiana Pacers. We are going to be looking at the game tonight as they get ready to take on the Dallas Mavericks. A little bit of gambling talk in there as well, and then a look ahead at the rest of the week. You can find me on social media. I'm seeing now the print on those is kind of tiny, but Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, I am at Primetime Klein, twitch.tv/primetimepk. You can email the show, couchpotatodiary@yahoo.com. Also, like I said, all these are available in podcast form. Just search Couch Potato Diary and you can subscribe to the podcast there. Leave a review, that kind of stuff really does help me out. And for those of you who are listening, you can find me on YouTube. Just go youtube.com/@primetimepk. It's annoying, but just that's the way to find me. Okay, so let's get into it. The Raptors with a really nice win over the Indiana Pacers. And for the first time this season, the Raptors have won 3 in a row, which, yikes. But I understand, and please note that when I am talking about this game, I know how bad the Pacers defense is. Like, transition defense was basically nil until the third quarter, and then they ran back, blocked a couple of shots, and were like, all right, we're good. That's how bad this defense was for the Pacers. So I understand when I'm talking about the offense and some of the improvements that I think I've seen, we're not exactly dealing with the 04 Pistons here. But still, I really liked what I saw. And when this offense is going right, there's actually a lot of things to like about it. And I understand that. There's a long way to go for this team. There really is. But I think over the course of this winning streak, and since a couple of the trades, there's been a few things that you actually really like to see. And I'm choosing to focus on those for this one today. I'm not going to come out of the gates on this podcast and be like, hey, you know what sucks? Everything. But I really like what I saw with the movement of this team, both the ball movement and player movement. Some really good cuts last night. Some excellent passes to take advantage of those. I really like a lot of the movement just overall that you see on this. They are, I think, very creative with the screen usage. There was the one pick and roll where Pirtle sets the screen up at the top. I forget who it was who was rolling around. It might have been Quickly. Quickly rolls around, and then as Pirtle is coming to the net and Turner is kind of backing into him, I think it was Trent who sent another screen, and that just opens Pirtle up wide open at the rim. I really like how they were doing that. They had a couple of plays, specifically out of the timeout, where they would run a bit of a handoff, and then the one guy would like do like a bit of a almost double cut, I guess, for lack of a better term, and basically use the current ball handler as a screener, and then they dump it over the top. They did a great job all night of creating a lot of really, really good looks from this offense. And this was a night against the Pacers the other night where they were able to take advantage of that and put together, I think, a really good showing for this offense. And a big part of that was Scottie Barnes. He was fantastic against the Pacers, picking up a triple-double in the win. His game has absolutely leveled up this season. And I get maybe it wasn't the most enthralling all-star performance one has ever seen, and there is still a little bit for him to grow. But I thought that he rebounded really well from some of the talk we had going into the All-Star break about, like, hey, what is the give a shit meter on this guy? Like, where are we at? Because the talk about, like, walking off the court early and some of the efforts that we were seeing from him, where is he? And I don't know if it's a conversation he had with the coaches, if it was just internally as a human being, he was like, maybe I could be better. But he was great last night. And, like, we've seen the shooting level up a little bit, but it's the vision offensively, and it's the passing for me that I think has kind of taken him to another level. He tried to dunk last night, or the other night, sorry. I watched this late. He tried to dunk last night that was absurd and almost worked, but Toppin got his wrist and kind of sent him off kilter enough that it wasn't one of the most epic Raptor dunks we've seen in a while. But still, you love the attacking mindset that he has. But as a playmaker last night, or the other night, he was so strong for this Raptors group, and I think was a big part of what they were able to do. And I think one of the biggest parts of it was his work in transition. Some of the outlet passes. He had one that was just perfect to quickly, that set him up in a great spot to hit a transition three that kind of started the ball rolling for the Raptors again. And so with Scottie Barnes, I don't know if we're ever going to have, like, him comfortably as a point forward or anything like that with this Raptors team, but I do think that there is something there that he can be someone who keeps this offense moving maybe a little bit more than you thought, certainly coming out of the draft and maybe even coming out of a bit of a tougher season for him a year ago. But I really, really liked what I saw from Scottie Barnes for a lot of this season, obviously, but last night. The other part of this one, and you only saw him for a half, but Jakob Poeltl was tremendous. And there was a lot of frustration from me that the Raptors made that move a year ago when I thought they should have kind of been in the tank. And if you were going to make that, like, make it in November, because it was so clear this team was missing that type of a guy. But you're starting to see the type of players the Raptors want, the type of players that Darko wants as a coach, and how to utilize them. And Poeltl feels like a perfect fit for what the Raptors are looking to do offensively. And again, it's his playmaking ability that I think really, really shines. Early in the year, you saw the two big passes with him and Siakam. I thought that they utilized that really well. He's someone who is comfortable. Like, he's not going to be your primary ball handler or anything like that, but he is very comfortable at the top of the circle, just distributing and working his playmaking there. He was so creative last night, and it really does set things up, or the other night, sorry. It does really set things up well for them to be able to do a few more creative things in the pick and roll. And then defensively, like, he is the only big guy they have, really. Like, Olynyk is literally a big human being, but doesn't play nearly as physical as Poeltl does. And so I thought Poeltl did a good job of kind of managing Turner down in the block. Turner gets his threes, obviously. Like, he was great the other night. But Poeltl defensively got caught in a couple of switches. There was one time where he was on Halliburton. There was one time he was on Mathurin, who was out of this world the other night. And Poeltl stuck with him the whole way. Mathurin still gets the points off of a shot, but it was a really tough shot late in the shot clock. And Poeltl's defense, it just makes you feel really comfortable that you can switch with him and he can at least hang with them. I'm not going to say, like, hey, you know what, tonight against Dallas. Just put Pirtle on Kyrie, and I think it'll be fine. Like, obviously, it's not that. But he is someone who, if he gets in a switch, you feel confident enough that he is going to be able to hold his own for at least 15 to 20 seconds when you needed him. They were plus 10 when he was on the floor. He sprained his ankle last night. It sounds like the other night, it sounds like he is questionable for the game tonight, kind of a game time decision. If he's in the lineup, you really like what he provides going up against a Dallas team that doesn't offer a ton of resistance, although Gafford, I do think improves Dallas in that area. But the Raptors are 2-9 without Pirtle this season. He has been really important for this team. And we could have bigger picture conversation about, okay, does that go against where they should be going right now? This year, the draft isn't great. We have all heard that before. I think it is too late for the Raptors to fall into a top 6 pick in this draft unless the draft lottery just ends up going their way. So for now, for a team that is like just looking to see what they have, it does seem like Pirtle is a good fit. And it seems like Olynyk is too. Brought over at the trade deadline. They were talking about it on the broadcast the other night. He is, again, the exact perfect type of a fit for what Darko is looking to do with this offense. A lot of the offense ran through him when he was out there with the second unit the other night. Again, his passing is great. He attacked off the dribble at one point when they just kind of left him wide open for a trip down the lane late in the fourth quarter. Indiana's clutch defense was horrendous the other night, and that was a bit of a rough go for them. But he was basically a Pirtle mini-me. Like, his passing is great. He made a couple of really smart decisions on the inbound that ends up like basically sealing it. Inbound play, he gets it over to Quickly, who they start to trap him. He is able to dump it over to Olynyk, who got himself into a spot where he could get the pass, and then a perfect pass to Scottie Barnes sets up the and one and really puts the icing on the cake for a strong performance. But he's someone who you have to monitor from beyond the 3-point line. I did not anticipate his playmaking ability to be where it is at. And so I think, again, you look at what this team is trying to do and kind of the identity of this team, it does seem like he fits it. And so maybe he is a bit more of a longer term fit with this Raptors team than we initially thought. There isn't a whole lot on this. RJ Barrett was just really good last night, or the other night. Jeez, I'm very sorry I keep doing that. I'll have to watch the games live from now on instead of trying to get caught up the next day or a couple of days after. Anytime he got Mathurin on him, it was just like beeline for the bucket. And the 3-point shot was falling for him a couple of times at least in the game against the Indiana Pacers. And it's just, you can very clearly see this is someone who thinks the game at a pretty high level and sees the game at a high level. And that works really well for some of the more complex things this offense is trying to do. Again, there's a lot of screening, there's a lot of motion, there's a lot going on in this Raptor offense and what they're trying to do. And it does seem like RJ Barrett, again, talking about this a lot, it seems like he fits what the Raptors are looking to accomplish right now. And so overall, this was a strong game from the Raptors. Like, I thought defensively, they did as well as they could against a team that is strictly focused on buckets for the Pacers. And then offensively, I've gushed at length about how well I thought they handled things the other night. Overall, there's something happening here. I'm not going to say, hey, watch out for the Raptors. Like, wouldn't want to be Boston in the first round if the Raptors end up getting through as the 8th seed. I am not saying that. But this isn't a start from scratch. Like, they have something going here with Pirtle. We'll see how long-term Olynyk is in the plans for this team. But with Pirtle, with Barnes, with Quickly, and with RJ Barrett, like, there is something there. And another thing you feel positive about that we saw the other night, got myself that time, Agbaji and Grady Dick were so good. The level of confidence that Grady is playing with right now compared to the beginning of the season, it's night and day. And I think a lot of people thought, okay, spot up shooter, here we go. He is aggressive in attacking off of the dribble. Like, if you close out a bit too hard on him, he is gone, and he is going to the rack, and he is fearless going there. And defensively, he at least tries really hard. But like I said, like, it feels like there's something there. I don't know if we're going to look back on the Pirtle trade, and I'm going to be doing a trade tree on it because it led to the Toronto Raptors winning the 2025 NBA championship or anything like that. But there is at least the startings of a foundation here with this team. And I think you can feel pretty positive about that from a Raptor standpoint. It would have been nice if a few things weren't mismanaged to get to this point, but I think in recovery mode, Masai Ujiri has done pretty good job with this group. Just quickly on the opposition, like I said, Mathurin was unbelievable last night. Just such a skilled scorer. The Raptors were throwing anything at him, and he was just rising over a double team hitting. Late in the shot clock, has a big man on him, hand in his face. Yeah, I'll hit that fadeaway. He was electric last night. The most points that a Canadian player, or the other night, sorry. The most points that a Canadian player has ever scored against the Toronto Raptors was that dude. And you just, yeah, you feel really good about what he was doing for the Indiana Pacers. And the other guy who stepped up in this one was Miles Turner. He is obviously somewhat of a problem for other teams when they're trying to drive into the paint. He is someone who will alter some plans there. You saw Turner just straight up like, nope, not happening. And his ability to shoot confident from three is just such a weapon. And I think in the first half, he and Siakam combined 5 for 7 from three. Like that's unfair that you're getting that from your 4 and your 5. When you already have Mathurin making everything and Halliburton doing what Halliburton can do. This Pacers team, like, defensively, it's just not good enough to be able to compete in the East. Like, they're going to get probably one of Boston, Milwaukee, or Cleveland in the first round, and all three of those teams, I think, destroy this group when you get into a 4, 5, 6, 7 game series with the Pacers, just because defensively there isn't a whole lot there. Offensively, when it's going, it's going. But there are way too many times when they go 5 out, it's basically just, I'm going to try to drive, nope, pass it out to this guy. All right, I'm going to try to drive, nope, pass it out to this guy. And you just hope one of your guys can beat the other team 5 on 5 before the shot clock runs out. And it's not great to watch. So there are some flaws on this Pacers team, but they have a lot of talent on this group, and that makes them a really interesting team heading toward the postseason. As for tonight, the Raptors taking on the Dallas Mavericks, another team that isn't super passionate about the defensive side. I do like the move that they made at the deadline, going out acquiring Gafford, who can at least defend a little bit. PJ Washington, a touch, I suppose. Maybe not necessarily, again, we're not talking about some of the great lockdown defenders, but they're at least better defensively than what you were seeing from them previously. And it just makes this team a little bit more dangerous from a Mavericks perspective. Obviously, they still go how Luka goes, and to a certain degree, how Kyrie goes, but there's a little bit more talent now around Luka. I think tonight, I'm actually right this time when I'm dating myself. But I think tonight for the Raptors, the bench is going to be really key. And I thought they did a pretty good job in the first half against the Pacers the other night. The second half, it was okay. Obviously, rotation gets a little thrown out of whack with Pirtle going down with an injury. But I think that the bench tonight is going to be a key if Dick and Agbaji can come back out and provide this team a bit of a spark. That's going to be very helpful because the starting 5, like, it's not quite as good against the Mavericks. I'll be interested to see defensively how Toronto tries to attack Dallas this evening. But I think it's going to be a difficult one for them. If you guys have watched or listened to the flagship show, Couch Potato Diary, around here, you know I do a segment called Today's Ticket. Not going to officially hit a graphic thingy or anything like that, but we'll do just a couple of plays that I'm making gambling-wise on this game tonight. Much as I love the Raptors, I don't think they're the Mavericks. And so I am going Dallas minus 2.5 in this spot at minus 125. I think the Mavericks will be able to defend enough that they're going to give the Raptors some problems. And Luka, this has the makings of being a really difficult game for the Raptors to match up with them. So I like Dallas in this spot. I think they are, as much as I said, like, something's building here. I think Dallas is just a far superior team, and to only have to give up 2.5 points, you feel really good about. I'm going to go over 241.5. I think both these teams are going to put up a bunch of buckets tonight. And then my last one, one player who I think is going to be able to shine for the Raptors is RJ Barrett. His total tonight is set at 20.5. I'm going to go over on that as well. I think with the attacking mindset that he has, no matter who is out there on him, it's probably going to be a insufficient defensive player. And so I think RJ, playing with that confidence coming off of the other night against Mathurin, is going to be able to step up and make a couple of big time plays. So I am going to go over 20.5 for RJ Barrett. Now let's take a look at the week coming up. The Raptors have the game tonight against Dallas, saying that's a loss. And then coming up on Friday, they take on the Golden State Warriors at home. Golden State is starting to figure a few things out, and so I think it's going to be a bit of a difficult one for the Raps. So I am going to say Golden State takes that one. Up next, it's a Sunday game against the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets are bad, okay? They're just not a good basketball team, and so I think the Raptors are probably going to be able to pick up a victory in that one. And then Tuesday, so a day before our next podcast, so I'll actually be able to say last night when we do this one coming up next week, it is the New Orleans Pelicans. I think the Raptors take that one. I think the Raptors... One of the issues that teams have against New Orleans is what to do with Zion, right? And obviously he is not the same explosive guy that he was coming out of college and all of that, but when it's point Zion, do you put one of your guards on him because the rest of the team is big? How do you handle it? And I think you basically just, Scottie, go, and you figure it out later. And then I think the rest of the team kind of matches up pretty well with the Pelicans. So I'm going to say Raptors take that one. So between now and the next show, I'm going to say the Raptors go 2-2. That's going to do it for the maiden voyage here on DinoMight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As the season goes along, we're going to have some rankings of the top players in Raptor history. We're also going to look at potential draft targets here. That's going to be coming up in the next little bit. I'm going to go through some mock drafts, see some players that are in the ballpark that the Raptors could be taking. They don't have their first, probably. Maybe we'll start to look at that if this thing really turns sideways. But right now we're going to be focusing on the pick that the Raptors are getting from the Pacers, which I believe as of today sits as the 15th overall selection in the draft. So we'll be looking at a few players that the Raptors could target in that realm. Also going to be a bit further on down the line, looking at potential free agent targets for the Raptors. So even if the season goes to shit, we're going to have a lot to look at. We're going to be doing some, a lot like this. Going to look at some of the most recent game, with great detail, I would say. And the other ones throughout the week, we'll do a couple of quick hitters on, and then we'll look at the week ahead, a couple of gambling things. So it's going to be a lot like this. If you have any notes, you can email me, couchpotatodiary@yahoo.com. You can find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I am at Primetime Klein. You can also find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/primetimepk, facebook.com/couchpotatodiary. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll be back with some more Raptor talk next week. Have a great day, everybody.